Hey, welcome to Dan's Model Works, and it's a new project day. I'll admit that given the recent popularity of aviation subjects, I'm a bit nervous about doing a truck, but hopefully my viewers will find this project interesting as well. And I've been looking forward to doing this kit for quite some time. So what do we have here? This is an Italeri kit, and they ambiguously call it a US wrecker truck. I suspect that Italeri have let their copyright license with Ford expire, because nowhere in the kit do we see the word Ford, and even the blue oval on the artwork is empty. I think most modelers will recognize this as a member of the Louisville line, most specifically an LTL 9000. However, some younger viewers may not be as familiar with these trucks as us older farts. Remember, this generation of truck ceased production in 1995. Briefly, the L series replaced the earlier N series in 1970, and were not originally officially known as Louisvilles. Their name came from the Louisville assembly plant where they were built. This is similar to the Emeryville trucks built by International Harvester getting their name from the Emeryville, California truck plant where they were built. These trucks were very popular with large companies and fleets, and could be found as straight trucks or semis. However, they were fairly plain Jane, even with the full chrome grille option. Owner-operators, however, went with premium models from Kenworth, Peterbilt, Mack, and Western Star, to name a few. Ford wanted a piece of this market, so created the LTL 9000 in 1976. Here's a picture. As you can see, the main difference externally was a longer hood or bonnet to give more room for larger engines, although the styling was largely unchanged. I assume the interior appointments were upgraded, but for somebody sinking their life savings into their rig, a little more bling was required. In 1978, Ford redesigned the LTL 9000 and gave it a much more attractive hood, with a bold new grille, while still maintaining the styling cues with its plainer siblings. This kit is one of several that Italeri made as part of a cooperative agreement with Revell. Italeri made the tooling, and both they and Revell released them with different paint schemes. Italeri has also used the bones of this kit to produce other Louisville models as well. One of the other variations was the Ford Aeromax, seen here in these pictures. This is a model I made for a customer, about 16 years ago. And a lot of the parts of this kit are interchangeable with the LTL 9000 that's used in the tow truck kit. So I am familiar with this kit. There you can see a head-on shot of the Aeromax. So let's take a look at the kit before we get into it. It's in 1/24th scale, and nice painting on the front, and it looks like it's been digitally superimposed on top of a real photograph, which is kind of cool. One thing that does concern me is the boom. Basically, it looks like the person who did the tooling or did the artwork misunderstood the underreach. This piece here normally goes up underneath the vehicle being towed, and then there's a piece going transversely across in order for either grabbing the underframe or the front wheels. This looks like it's been rotated 90 degrees, and maybe that is an option on some wreckers, I don't know, so that you could get a longer pull. Although I'm not quite sure why you would do that. But it wouldn't be the first time that the tooling for a kit has been made and there's been a misunderstanding as to how some of the parts are supposed to work. I'm certainly going to be looking at videos of real wreckers in action, as well as, photos just to see how they should be set up. Maybe this is a European only option or something like that, because this body, Italeri has designed it so it can go on a lot of their other truck models. Like they will have a cab over Volvo or something like that, or a Scania with this same back end on it. So that's something that we're going to have to see when we get into it. If we look at the side here, this is such a big box it's hard to get everything in. You can see once again it looks like you're meant to pose the boom up in the air like this, which really doesn't excite me. I think I'm going to be doing something about that definitely. And the other interesting thing, and they don't have it on the front artwork, is this huge bumper on the front. This almost looks like something you'd find from, I don't know, Mad Max Road Warrior or something like that. And the interesting thing is I've seen pictures of the European wrecker trucks that Italeri puts out, and they have the same back on it. They have a cab over European cab, like I said, a Scania or a Volvo or something like that, and they have this big, massive, beyond Armageddon bumper on the front. Once again, I don't think I'm going to be using that part there. The other side of the box is just pretty much the potted history in 6 different languages. And as I said before, I've not been able to find the word Ford on the box anywhere. And I'm sure if they were allowed to use the word Ford somewhere, they'd have a officially licensed product or something like that here. So I think they're very careful not to actually say what it is. Let's get this box open and see what we have here. Pretty much the standard Italeri instruction manual. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment. We have a sprue with some red parts and some silver parts. We have 2 bags containing chrome sprues. This one has the stacks, or at least one of the stacks, and as well as has the hydraulic rams. We have another bag containing chrome sprues, and looks like we have another stack there. Lots of tread plate, and of course here's that big Ford grill. And then we have the tires, and they are no-name tires, but they do have writing on them. I think you can see that in the light here. You can see the light there. So even though they're no-name tires, they do have information on them. And the tread looks quite nice. Very, very soft. Very nice tires. The next bag has many sprues in it. The top one is the cab and the hood, which interestingly is molded in 2 pieces. That's a little different. And inside we can see here are the transparencies, and they're in a separate bag. And then this would be the frame and the engine and everything like that. We'll get rid of this plastic so we can get a better look at the sprues. So first off, we've got the instructions. And standard for Italeri, we've got 6 different languages. We've got the legal notices. Please don't eat the parts. Then we have the sprue map. The shaded areas are parts that you're not going to use. You can see there's a 5th wheel here. Looks like there's some engine parts. These look like the mud flaps. Some wheels you're not going to be using. And then step number 1, oddly enough, is not the engine. It's the frame. And they've got you removing a little bit off the back end of the frame. So we've got the frame continuing on. And of course, this is the sort of frame where the 2 frame rails are separate and you have to glue everything together. Going into the engine. More doodads. Yeah, this is going to be a few parts building this. Now we've got assembly of the hood. More cab assembly. We have the sleeper. And, I think I'm going to do a little research on the sleeper. When Class 8 wreckers have sleepers, what do the drivers use them for? I mean, because usually they're not going any great distances. So at any rate, we're getting into the actual wrecker bed here. Here you can see the spades. So here's more assembly of the actual towing boom right here. Now, they show the pivot, but they don't show the bit that goes side to side. Like I said, I'm going to have to go and look at some pictures of real wreckers. And then we have the completion. And then we have decal placement. Speaking of decals, here's the decal sheet. Very bright, very colorful. One thing that does kind of concern me is the instrument panel. God, I can't imagine somebody wanting a red instrument panel. Something else that's a problem, and I'm not sure if it's legible. Let's move in a little bit here. Let's see if we can focus. This is meant to go on the boom. It says 50-ton recovery rotator. Now, my understanding is a rotator, the boom can basically swing from one side of the truck to the other through about 160, 180 degrees. What's on this truck is not a rotator, so far as I know. So let's get into these parts. This, of course, is the parts for the wrecker bed. These, I guess, are the inside body pieces. And these are the outer body pieces. And they would basically just go on either side of the frame. And this piece and this piece, they're part of that Road Warrior bumper. Here's some more parts of it. You know, you could use that on some other project. Just not real happy with it on this one. Here are some of our transparencies. I'm thinking these are probably for our flashing lights and some of the other lenses. So they're molded in clear, so you're going to have to break out your various Tamiya clear paints to paint those up. But I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. And then we have the parts for our boom. And we have the main arm here and various winching parts. These are the spades for the back. And I'm not sure what parts these are. Probably more parts of the boom. I don't see any flash. They're really quite well molded. Like I said, my only concern is how accurate this is basically for a US wrecker truck. So here's the smaller of the two chrome sprues. Like I said, and there was the hydraulic rams and one smokestack. We got some horns here and looks like some lights. The next main one has got our LTL 9000 grill, and as you can see, it's see-through, which is really nice. There's the stock bumper, of course the fuel tanks. We have the outer wheels, which are nicely chromed. It looks like we have parts to do up 2 sets of stacks here, so we're going to have an extra. And here are the mud flaps that you're not going to use because that's for the tractor option. Same thing, this plate here is for the tractor. Very nice piece of tread plate. Keep that for some future project. This huge sprue, of course, is our cab. And as you can see, there's a gate separating this portion from this portion, which means that Italeri for different kits can give you different sleepers to, along with the cab. And of course, unlike a lot of the truck kits of old, where the cab was all molded in one piece, this is molded in separate pieces. Then we have our main transparencies, and I'm going to keep these in the bag till I'm ready to use them. We got the windshield, the side glass, and we've got headlights. And this portion up here is interesting. because these two transparencies here, they're the headlights and turn signals for the Aeromax truck. And these are the roof windows, although it looks like part of this one is missing, but these are the roof windows for the sleeper for the Aeromax. Kind of interesting that they've migrated into this kit. Here we have our sprue for our interior parts. There's the floor, the seats, and we have the interior detail for the doors. And we have the bunks, and looks like the under dash. And this could be a problem. This is the dashboard, and it's smooth, completely devoid of detail. So they're intending that you're going to use that decal with that hideous red background. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Going to have to do some thinking on it. This panel, okay, this panel is the inside of the cab roof. That's a nice touch. Got a few more wheels. And on this sprue, we have the engine. And if this is the same engine that's in the Aeromax kit, this will be a Caterpillar diesel. Here's the fifth wheel that we're not going to use. There's going to be a lot of spare parts in this kit. There's a radiator, the fan shroud, and some of the underhood plumbing. So, and of course the steering wheel. I haven't seen any flash so far on this kit. And finally, we have our frame. As you can see, it's old school with the frame rail separate. And of course, all the suspension parts separate. We've got the two rear axles, the differentials. We got the front axle here, front springs. And once again, no significant flash that I can see. All right, so let's get this thing over to the Clutter Zone and start working on it. Hey, it's almost done. What in God's name am I doing here? All right. I've taped together a lot of the major components so that I can answer a question. And I'd already kind of decided on this before I'd even gotten to the point of opening the box. Well, I'd already opened the box, but before I got serious about building it. And that was the wrecker bed is too stubby. And it's probably European practice. After all, streets are a lot more crowded there. But if you look at any North American wrecker picture, they are long, really long. So there's two ways we can go about correcting this. The first way is we could lose the sleeper. If we lose the sleeper without messing around with the frame, we could extend the wrecker body by about 1.5 inches forward. And I think that would be fine. I think that would look good. But me and the kids went by a local yard where they've got a lot of Class 8 wreckers, and most of them had sleepers. And I've already said before, I'm not quite sure what they use them for, because most Class 8 recoveries are not that far a distance. Now, mind you, you could be going to another city to drag a truck back, I guess. I don't know. So that's solution number one, is lose the sleeper, and I'd have to do a little bit of surgery to the back of the cab to put a regular window in it. The other option is to stretch the frame by about 1.5 inches, or 1.25 inches, and extend it forward once again. And me and the kids, we just had a family conference, and that seems to be the consensus is, let's stretch the frame, stretch the bed about 1.25 inches, and that's how we're going to have to go. And I had to make this decision right now before doing anything else, because of course the frame is the first thing we're going to be working on. So it's going to be stretch the frame by about 1.25 inches. And probably the last component of the truck that I do a lot of work on is going to be the bed itself. And the reason for that is I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if I can, get some access to some records and some decent pictures and things like that. If I can't do it in person, I'll get it off the internet and see if I can't make this a little more representative of what we have here in North America, especially the arm and the underreach and everything like that. So that just about does it for part one of our building a modern wrecker video. I thought I was going to actually manage to glue some plastic together, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So, until next time, thanks for watching Dan's Model Works, and just keep on modeling.